This is Carla. Where's your emergency?
Hi, this is an off-duty officer. I need emails. I'm in number,
Do you need police as well or just EMS?
yes, I need both.
Okay, what's the address?
I'm at apartment number 1478. I'm in 1478.
And what's the address there?
It's 1210 South Lamar, 1478. Yes.
What's going on?
I'm an off-duty officer. I thought it was in my apartment, and I shot a guy thinking it was my apartment.
He shot someone?
Yes, I thought it was my apartment. I'm fucked. Oh my God. I'm sorry.
Okay, and where are you at right now?
I'm in, what do you mean? I'm inside the apartment with him. Hey, come on.
What's your name?
I'm Amber Geiger. I need to get me, I'm in.
Okay, we have help on the way.
I know, but I'm gonna lose my job.
What's good? What's good? What's good? We are back with episode 2 of the You Trippin podcast. I am your host. Just call me Twin. So, for those of you who heard the call, obviously at the beginning of the episode, that was the 911 call that Amber Geiger put in after she shot Bo. That's one of the craziest calls, I would say, that I've heard, just as far as a 911 call and it being a cop that put the call in. Now, it's crazy because obviously, you know, with you listening to it and everything, the first thing she was worried about was her losing her job. I think that's wild because you have a man's life here that you put in jeopardy at the time. You know, he hadn't passed away yet. So at that point in time, you had this man's life in your hands. And the first thing you're worried about is you losing your job. Now, if you're familiar with the case and you were following it, when she was in court, the prosecution team was asking her, did she perform CPR? And she said she, quote unquote, provided a little bit. As I said, with her being on the phone in the 911 call, obviously she wouldn't be able to be performing CPR while she's on the phone. Now, well, she didn't think she could. The prosecution team told her that she could have put the phone on speaker. So there was an opportunity for her to provide CPR to Bo. She decided to call the police, which, you know, she should have done, but CPR still could have been provided. And then on top of that, she's not worried about necessarily saving this man's life or preserving his life as much as she can or it can be preserved on their end. But the first thing that she's worried about is she's going to lose her job. At this point now, I'm sure all of you know that Amber was sentenced to 10 years in prison with a possibility of parole after 5 years for murder. She was convicted of murder, and she got 10 years. After she'll serve 5, and she'll have a possibility of parole after that. Amber's 31, Bo was 26. So by the time Amber is 36 years old, she'll probably be out on quote unquote good behavior. She'll be out before she's 40 years old, barely 35. This is one of the craziest things to me just because all of the evidence was there for her to even get up to this 99 that's possible in Dallas. In Dallas, you can get up to 99 years, which is basically life in prison for being convicted of murder. And she didn't get 99, she didn't get 89, didn't get 79, didn't get 50, 30, 40, 20, whatever. She got 10 with the possibility of parole after 5. And then on top of that, to make it a little worse, The judge hugs her afterwards, as well as Bo's brother. Now, I understand the sentiments of Bo's brother. Me personally, I wouldn't be hugging my brother's killer a year later. Probably ever. But he did that, I feel like, for his own personal forgiveness. He didn't want to live with those demons and that hurt in his heart. So I don't necessarily agree with it, but I do understand it. Now, the judge, on the other hand, that's another case to me, just because it's like, man, you're in a position of power. You should be acting as a professional in this case. And even if you wanted to give her a hug, you wait until there are no cameras present to do that. You don't do that literally right after she was sentenced to 10 years. I don't see that as something that the judge should have done. It just looks bad. It does not look good that, one, she was only sentenced to 10 years. Then Bo's brother hugs her, and then you follow up with a hug. I don't care how emotional she is, how much she's crying, how much she's sad about how deep in regret she's living. I get that. That's fine. I'm glad she had some regrets. She should be sad because she took a man's life. But you don't hug someone that was just convicted and sentenced in your courtroom. That's just not, it's not professional. You just can't do it like that. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. You can't do it. But I say that to say, man, like, all of these cases have just been happening over the past 5-10 years. And it's just like, we can't, as African Americans, we can't catch a break from now Bo to Sandra Bland to Trayvon to Eric Garner. It's like, what do we have to do on our end for there to be a reasonable sentencing that occurs? Now, a lot of the other cases, even though just for example, Trayvon's case with George Zimmerman, basically nothing came out of that. And it almost feels as though nothing came out of this one. I mean, sure, she got 10 years, but she got convicted of murder and she got 10 years. That's basically nothing. She pretty much got off scotch-free. Yeah, she doesn't have her job anymore. Yeah, she'll be in prison for a few years. But you look at it and it's like, man, like, I'm sure we all know people or have known people or are friends with people who know people that have been in situations where they have committed a lesser crime than Amber committed, but yet they're serving a longer sentence. I'm sure we all know people that are serving 20 years for marijuana possession or 10 years for gun possession. And I say it like that because she actually committed this crime where she pulled out her weapon, shot and killed a man because she was at the wrong doorstep. Now, someone that's convicted of marijuana possession or the possession of a weapon, they might not necessarily even have to shoot it. They might not have to smoke it, but they would probably end up doing more time than Amber is doing. So the only crime that they committed was basically having it on them. She not only had it on her, she utilized it and utilized it to kill. If you follow the case, when the prosecution team asked her, did she shoot Bo to kill Bo? She stated, yes, she did, because that's how she was trained. I don't understand how you can walk up to a doorstep and not know if it is yours or not. I understand that some of us may have the same doormats. It happens. We all go get our doormats from the same places, especially if you want a cheap one or something. You're probably going to find everybody doormat at Walmart. But to know that her doormat was completely different from Bo's being a bright red color. I'm not even a cop, but I'm aware of my surroundings. I was talking to my brother the other day, and there's just things that I notice where if I feel like I'm in the right spot, I'll look around just to make sure I am. If I come up to what appears to be my door and I put my key in and it doesn't seem to be moving correctly or it's not working, I take a step back and look at the apartment number like, okay, yeah, I'm in the right spot. Or I take a step back and look down at my doormat and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm good. My key's messing up right now. It doesn't seem like she had the rationale to do that, but she had the rationale to understand and kick into police mode and utilize what she was trained to do in, I guess, that situation, which was to kill. The thing is, man, is as I mentioned earlier, these cases are just piling up, but there hasn't been one like this one. I'm sure we've all seen Facebook and Instagram, Twitter videos of cops running up in someone's home and grabbing them by their arms and taking them by force and arresting them and everything. But she killed this man in the comfort of his own home. Trayvon was killed on the street. Eric Gardner was killed on the street, to my knowledge. I can't say for sure where Sandra was killed, but I'm gonna say it was probably not in her home. Those were all in public. Bo was in his own house, in the safety of his own home, and was murdered because it appeared he was an intruder. We could go off of the skin color thing, saying it was because he was black or whatever, but we'll just say that because Amber thought he was an intruder. Now, as everyone would say, if the case was flipped and, if it was a black police officer that was intruding on a white woman's space, he was convicted of murder, as she was, he probably would have been doing a lot more than 10 years. And that sucks to say, but it's like, at this point, it's just the reality of it. Time after time, African Americans deal with these cases where we don't even know if we'll get justice out of it, but based on all the evidence, we should be getting justice out of it. There was nothing pointing in Bo's direction as if he was doing something in the wrong. Bo was in his home, probably in some basketball shorts and a t-shirt, watching TV. Could have been watching football or something, whatever it was. Eating ice cream. And someone came to his door and disturbed his peace. But they almost tried to take the direction of the castle law, where you can the law says that you can protect your castle. Well, the problem here is that it wasn't her castle. Sure, they wanted to argue that in her mind it was Amber's castle, and I understand that. But again, being a police officer in a situation like this, you have to be aware of your surroundings and notice that if it's something weird going on and you feel as though someone is in your apartment, you should have the instinct and training to look at your surroundings and understand that, okay, this is on this floor, this is where this painting is located, or this is where the elevator is, this is where this is. Opposed to on Bo's floor where this painting may be different, or the elevator is on this side, or the stairwell is here. Something should have kicked in my opinion, in her mind, where she should have started to look around and be like, okay, I think I might be on the wrong floor. But instead of her thinking that way, Bo opening the door and her just questioning him, asking what he was doing at that moment in her apartment, which is what she thought it was. She didn't ask what he was doing in her apartment. She didn't ask why he was there. She didn't try to detain him. She did what she was quote unquote trained to do, which was shoot him over his left breast and take his life. Like I said, man, it's really crazy that all the evidence, all of it, is going against Amber. The prosecution team did a phenomenal job of coming up with all of this evidence from the 911 call, which you heard at the beginning. They did a great job in questioning her and what her thoughts were at the time. They recovered a bunch of text messages between her and the other officer that wasn't necessarily involved, but who she was involved with. And then on top of that, they also found some text messages that's pretty much Amber admitted to being a racist. So that in turn leads you to think that as soon as she saw a black man open at the time her door, it just gave her an opportunity to do what she wanted to do anyway, which was kill an African American person. Since based on her text message, she claimed to be a racist and she claimed to have wanted to shoot them or to be wanting to get other officers to shoot African Americans at the MLK parade. I just don't understand how we can keep going in circles and there is no sort of improvement here. It's really, at this point, you really don't know what to do as an African American. I was on Twitter the other day and I was just telling people like, man, like, you almost just want to move to another country. It's not even about fighting anymore and fighting justice and the right thing being done, because we in a sense, they'll tell you that with this case, we got justice in this situation. Or at least that's what it looks like. But justice for a murder isn't 10 years. You murder a man in cold blood in his own apartment, incidental or not, manslaughter, murder, however you want to put it. Yes, manslaughter or murder are two different things, but you don't get 10 years for what she was convicted of. With 5 years, really, because she's gonna get out when she turns 36. Once she's able to get parole, she'll be out and she'll be on house arrest at 36 because she'll be out on good behavior. Sure, she won't have her job anymore, but she'll be out of prison, where most people are for life that do what she did. And some didn't even do what she did and they're there for more. It's just difficult to deal with as an African American because you almost really just feel underappreciated. You feel undervalued in a situation like this. Outside of this situation, Bo was a stand-up man. For those of you who don't know, that me and Bo worked at the same firm. I never worked personally with him, but based on all the stories that I've heard from coworkers and different conference calls that we've been on, just for everybody to be able to vent about these type of things is it's crazy to hear how good of a person he was. But Bo was really just a stand-up guy. Wear his suit to work every day, him being a CPA. He's just a good human being. But Amber wouldn't know that because it just appeared to be a black man that was intruding upon her space. In other countries, the police is there to protect. They're there to keep citizens safe. It's crazy because when you call the police here, it's almost like they go straight to violence. But when you call the police in other countries, it seems as though they try to at least reason with the situation first and figure out what's going on. Somebody was telling me a story the other day where, I think it was Africa, they said, and they were after this big fugitive guy and everything. And, the police are walking around with shotguns and, like some police officers do in other countries. If you travel, this is something that's normal for police to be walking around with shotguns and everything. So they're walking around with shotguns and they're looking for this big drug guy or whatever and everything. And they finally get a hold of him. It's like 12 cops surrounding this guy and everything, right? Nobody shot him. But he started trying to, which he did actually, he started attacking one of the police officers and like fighting him with his hands and everything. He wasn't shooting him. He started fighting him with his hands and everything, right? So I thought one of the craziest things was the police officer puts his shotgun down and just fights the guy with his bare hands. I'm not saying that's what should happen in America, but it's crazy to think that those police officers there were in a position of power. They could have shot this man because he was assaulting a police officer. But he chose to just straight up fight him. Like, hey, I'm going to fight you one-on-one, and if you get the best of me, you get the best of me. We're going to catch you another time anyway. Like I said, I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. But it's almost more about keeping that person alive. Understanding that they have a livelihood, they have a family. And yes, they were doing something wrong. They committed a crime. But at the same time, they do have loved ones. So yes, we're going to catch you. We're not going to kill you, but you're going to serve this time though. It seems as though it's the exact opposite in America. Everywhere in America, obviously, they're taught to shoot to kill. But it seems like they shoot just to shoot. They're shooting before they're reasoning with the situation, before they even really know what's going on with the situation. I've seen so many times on Twitter and Facebook, all these social media outlets and everything, where I've seen cops run up on a guy on the side of the highway or the side of the street or whatever, and they don't even know what's going on with the situation. They're just going based off maybe what one officer would have told them, which is, in their right to trust their officers. But they just go straight off of what this person said, or maybe they didn't even have any information on it at all. They just run up and just put a guy in a headlock, or they just start shooting. It seems like the intentions are in America to kill. In other countries, it's not to kill. In other countries, police officers and sheriffs have developed a relationship with the citizens of their country. I was in Turks and Caicos in April. And I had went on a little ATV tour and everything, and I was talking to this guy, Archie. Shout out to Archie. If y'all go to Turks and Caicos, make sure y'all get on ATVs. But I was talking to Archie, and Archie said that if they catch anyone doing anything illegal, the cops don't even carry guns there because they know everybody. I understand that on a country level as far as the U.S., because it's such a huge country compared to Turks and Caicos. But I don't feel as though the effort is there for the sheriffs and the police officers and everyone to get to know the citizens of their particular area as well as it is in other countries. Like I said, in Turks and Caicos, they don't even carry guns around because they know everybody there. So if you commit a crime, they just gonna come pick you up and you gonna go with them. We don't even have those type of relationships with people on a day-to-day basis, especially police officers. But if police officers made some kind of effort to try to get to know the people in the area that they are working in, they might find out that these people are harmless. Especially someone like Bo. If Amber works for Dallas PD, she lives in the same complex as Bo, who lives a floor up, a floor down, whatever it was. She might not necessarily have to have a one-on-one relationship with him or a personal relationship with him where they know each other on a daily basis. They know each other's family. They know all these different things about one another. But if it's a familiar face that's walking into your building, it's not that hard for you to say hello. Ask them what their name is. Ask them how their day has been. Because if this has been a pattern, I don't know how long they were living in the same building, but if this has been a pattern, you start to recognize that face. So if Bo opens this door and Amber's there, maybe Amber would have looked at Bo like and tried to reason with him more than trying to shoot this man. It's really about, to me, a lot of what's going on is really about the relationship police officers have with their community, specifically the African American community. Obviously, I'll just say white privilege. Obviously, white privilege kicks in to a point when things like this happen. It's just proven facts that we've all seen that white people aren't going to get shot in situations that black people get shot in. They won't be shot as quick anyway. So if police officers made an effort to just simply speak with those African Americans that are in their territory that they ride around in for 12 hours a day, it might be a little easier to reason with these people. It might be a little easier for those people in that community to trust your judgment. Now, as you all know, Bo wasn't doing anything wrong, but if there's a situation where there's a drug dealer or someone that's messing the community up, and then a police officer kills them, but the police officer has a relationship with this particular community, the community might have this police officer's back, just in that, oh, if that police officer shot this particular person, it might not have necessarily been a good reason, but they may have genuinely felt threatened because that community trusts that police officer. Like I said, that might not make it right, but because you have that relationship with your community, they might be a little more lenient, like, hey, if he did that, so-and-so must have really been doing something, because they don't act like that just out of spite. They real cool with everybody in the community. They don't just shoot people just to shoot people. So it's really just a call to these police officers, man. Like, not only do you have to do a better job at doing your job, because your job is technically to protect and serve, but you just have to do a better job in trying to build a relationship with your community. Not on a personal level where you know everybody by first and last name and who their parents are and who their kids are in the community. But if you see someone in the community, acknowledge them. That's the first step to what could be a great relationship between you two. Who knows where it could go from that? But if Amber would have known who Bo was as a person, she might have been a little more reluctant to pull that trigger as quick as she did, whether she was racist or not. That's the first thing white people tend to say when someone calls them a racist is, I have black friends. means nothing to us. I'm not just finding this out, but I went to school with some racist people in high school. I spoke to them every day. Not because I knew they was racist. That's just who I am as a person. If I see you, I'm going to speak to you. And it seems like police officers don't adopt that or echo that same sentiment. It's really unfortunate that their immediate thought is when they see darker skin is that they're immediately a threat. Is that they have to be shot. They have to be killed. They have something on them. They sell drugs. They got a weapon. Whatever it is. Bo was at home eating ice cream, man. Like, at home eating ice cream. Chilling. Probably just got off a long day of work and doing taxes or something. And he at home cooling. And she shot this man and killed him. 26 years old. And he's dead because he was black, basically. Because he was intruding upon her apartment. Because he was eating ice cream. Because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. However you want to put it. Bo isn't here anymore because Amber barged into his safety. She barged into his apartment and shot him. If that doesn't bother you, white, black, Hispanic, whatever. If that doesn't bother you, there's really nothing else left to say. I'm not even trying to convince you that something else needs to be done because there's not going to be anything else that comes out of this situation. She got her 10 years. She'll be out in 5. She'll be out in 2024. Y'all gonna see Amber walking the streets of Dallas. She might move because she doesn't feel safe. Who knows? But Amber gonna be out of jail in 2024. Period. She gonna be out of jail. So this isn't a plea to get you guys to do something about it or for anybody to try to do something to Amber. I mean, nothing like that. I hope nothing like that crazy is going to happen because you don't want to wish death on anybody. I don't want to see this woman dead. But at the end of the day, she should have got more than 10 years or the 5 that she's going to do. She's literally going to be out before she turns 40 years old. That's crazy. She's going to be out of jail before she turns 40, murdering someone. Actually was convicted of it. And she's going to be out before she turns 40. Well before she turns 40. It's really nothing else for me to say about it. It is what it is at this point. It doesn't make it okay. But as an African American man, it's hard to feel safe in this country anymore. It really is. Whether we got on clothes like this, for those of you that know me, you know I'm shirt and tie, suit and tie every day. I can have on my suit and tie and get shot at for whatever reason. It's really hard to feel safe as an African American man, knowing that anytime I have an interaction with a police officer, it could potentially end the way Bo's situation ended. That's unfortunate to say. It sucks to say. But it's really the reality of the situation that we're not safe anymore. Because you can tell people, hey, just stay out of the way, keep your head low, don't do nothing you shouldn't be doing. But Bo was doing all of that and still got murdered. Y'all come back for episode 3, man. We'll be back. But to say the least, y'all tripping because we black.